Please, I'd like to introduce our next speaker. We were unable to get hold of Thibeli on the system, so we're going to be connecting by the phone. So I will be introducing Thibeli Malebo, who is from Standard Bank and is the Group Head for Business Resilience. Thibeli, thank you for keep trying and being so resilient and not giving up. Good afternoon, and we look forward to hearing what your story is from Standard Bank.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I hope everybody can hear me clearly.
Absolutely, thank you.
It's trying times, hey? This is a perfect opportunity to talk about business continuity or business resilience. When something does not go right, we go to our next plan, and let's go to it. So, as per the introduction, I'm Thibeli Malebo. I will ask somebody to please move to the next slide. I don't know who's driving, because where I am, I'm sitting blind, guys, I'll be honest with you. But we're going to make it work. We are resilient that way. So the next slide, my first slide, is just around demystifying business continuity and going back to basics and beyond. That's my introductory slide. The next slide is the disclaimer. I work for a bank. We need to have our disclaimer, guys. It's important. So the overview, the myth around business continuity, why implement business continuity, and it's critical for that. I'll spend some time on that. How to execute on business continuity. And what does the future look like now that we've dealt with COVID? And we're still dealing with COVID, sorry. Let's use the right term tense. We're still dealing with COVID. So the myths around BCM, can we please move to the next slide? I just need to remind myself that I need to tell somebody to move to the next slide. So the myth around business continuity, most people think of business continuity as a tick box. And it makes it difficult for those who, for some risk managers to really get the seat at the table around business continuity. You know, it's because people see it as an audit thing, as a tick box for audit. They see it as a document that is regularly updated. And people ask, why should I update this thing? You know, what value add does it bring to me? Business continuity is seen as for big organizations and entities. Business continuity is seen as that phenomena that enables IT recovery or that drives disaster recovery. And it's seen as we have to evacuate the office. Are we good for OHS? Yes, we are good for OHS. And do we have a building to go to now that we can't use this building? Yes, we do. Okay, tick the box. That's how people have perceived business continuity. But the most important thing for me is that it's that responsibility for senior leadership. It's not my responsibility. So that's the perception or the myths around business continuity. If we move to the next slide, please. So on the slide, I just want to talk about now we need to remove those myths. Why do we have to implement business continuity? Allow me to share a story about fishermen. The sole purpose of fishermen is to go out to sea, catch fish, come back to the fish market and sell fish at the fish market and make money so that they can provide for their families. However, for a week or a period of time, the weatherman told the fishermen that they cannot go out to sea and fish. So day one goes, day two, day three, day four, and so on. So they cannot fend for their families. They cannot provide for their families. They sit and decide, okay, what is it that we can do? They take life jackets, they take lifeboats, they take satellite phones, and they go out to sea. And in the typical South African language, Bob, the vessel capsizes. But because, and this is after they had caught some fish, but because they were prepared, they had taken precautionary measures, they had life jackets, they had satellite phones, they have lifeboats, they were able to phone the Coast Guard and the Coast Guard to come and collect them and take them back to shore. When they got to shore, they were able to sell fish and provide for their families. That is how simple business continuity is. It's about the ability to continue providing the service to our clients, to our customers. And how do we enable that or execute that? You have the ability to respond. How do you develop the ability to respond? For me, it all starts with the BCM program that says we need to do our business impact analysis, we need to have our recovery strategies, we need to have our business continuity plan, and doing the exercising and testing. The exercising and testing, it's that critical phenomena for business continuity because it then prepares us or prepares the crisis management team to have the ability to communicate with the stakeholders in event of a disruption. We saw when COVID landed, I'm going to use this word, landed and started disrupting the business in South Africa. Financial institutions started communicating with their clients, started giving certain facilities to their clients to enable their clients, to keep their clients at ease, to say, yes, we still have a capability to bank, we still have facilities to bank, we still have the ability to transact. That is possible because we have had the ability to respond and we were prepared to respond. Then we have to talk about the recovery. The recovery, COVID makes it easy, I think, in my view, because it then says, what are those essential services and how do we continue to provide those essential services to our customers, to our stakeholders, to the society at large? As we prepare to go to level 3, it means certain functions within the different businesses can go back to the offices. But it's about the ability to say, which are those functions that can now go back? We have to prepare ourselves for that. The organization needs to plan and needs to say, okay, we will have back office X or back office Y to go back to the office because they are no longer seen as critical. And it helps to also manage to minimize fraudulent activities. The last R that I want to talk to is the ability to restore. Yes, with COVID or post-COVID or the new norm, we do not know what the organizations will look like, or as it's referred to as this new norm. We do not know. However, we need to have the ability to restore the services so that we can continue to provide to our stakeholders, communities, and our clients. For me, those are the basic principles of why it is important to implement business continuity. As we move to the next slide, it's around how do you then execute and why do you need to execute? Gone are the days when banks used to close at 4 o'clock and don't open on weekends. And if you couldn't transact for whatever reason, you would have to wait for the following day at 9 o'clock or 8:30 to then be at the bank and be the first person in the queue to do your transaction. Business continuity has enabled us with COVID to make sure that we keep our doors open. Business continuity has enabled us to prioritize how do we serve society at large. Which branches will remain open? How will we serve the back office operations? Because the most important thing for us is to enable our customers and provide that quality of service 24/7. Because once we do that, our customers trust us and they find us loyal. And for me, again, I'll go back to this word, society, because it's a societal matter that as financial institutions, we are integral to enabling the fluidity of financial services within the organization. And this has been achieved through innovation. Because I can sit at the comfort of my house and do a transaction. Doesn't matter what time of the day it is. I don't have to go to the bank the following day. If I want to buy a plane ticket, I can do it online. Gone are the days where I had to wait for the following day. This is what innovation has brought us. But most importantly, why do we have to execute business continuity from a financial perspective? Is to prevent systemic financial crisis. Yes, because without finance, we may as well close shop. It's going to be chaos within South Africa. We need to have that industry collaboration, where the financial industry has come together and collaborated with the regulators, with FASA and other institutions to say perhaps what we need to do is to make sure that our customers are not impeded. And what has led to that, or the outcome of that, is that all financial institutions, I work for Standard Bank, I can now withdraw, I can use my card at an FNB ATM, and I will not be charged for that. So that charges were removed. And what we've done is that we've partnered with SASSA, and we've made sure that when there are payouts for SASSA, more branches are open to enable and to reduce the impact, or rather the infection of COVID. So banks have really come to the table. And we've also seen that the traders, we've enabled our traders to continue to execute and to partner with the JSE. So I'll ask to move to the next slide, please. The next slide talks to how does the future look like? Excuse me, I just had to take a sip of water there. The future is going to be very complex, I need to be honest with you. We talking working from home, but that comes with its own complexities, the ability to work from home. It's finding the balance between the kids making noise, fighting for the Wi-Fi, making sure that I still deliver what I'm required to deliver from my work perspective. It's around finding the balance to, now that I've decided to work from home, will my organization give me desk equipment so that I do not have to sit on the bed all day long and then develop back injuries or back problems? So it's around finding those balances. In South Africa, we have a huge monkey on our back, and that monkey, I'm using this word, Chris, I know you come from Eskom, so I'm using that with very cautiously. And that is Eskom, that is load shedding. Guys, we have been fortunate that since COVID, we haven't experienced load shedding. However, Eskom has been saying that there could be possibilities of load shedding. So that brings in another complexity. I'm sitting at home, load shedding hits me, what do I need to do? Organizations need to start thinking around what are those alternatives that they can provide to their employees if they experience load shedding. And when we look at COVID, I know the economy is looking bad, and not just in South Africa. But if you think of it, it is estimated that the Spanish flu killed or infected over 500 million people. And over 50 million people died. These are estimates. After World War II, it was chaos. And after the Great Depression as well. However, the world did not stop. New opportunities were created. New opportunities were seen. There's a famous, if I get this right, so bear with me, I could be incorrect, but there's a saying that with every risk comes an opportunity. The risk is COVID, the risk is infection, the risk is economical challenges, but post-COVID, there will be opportunities. And we need to make sure that those opportunities that we experience are resilient and they can continue to provide the services to whoever transit that we focus on. It's going to be complex for HC, human capital, to manage this. They have to think differently. They have to develop new policies. As mentioned before, Thibeli working from home. Does Thibeli get a desk? How do we manage it after giving Thibeli a desk at home and he leaves the office or leaves the department or the organization? How do we manage that? With that comes increased reliance on technology and its infrastructure. We have seen, and coming from a banking perspective, I will say that because of most of our systems have been enabled to operate in the cloud, that is why most people are able to work from home. Yes, even in the olden days, we would have Citrix capabilities and to dial and work from home. But that comes at a cost, that comes at data cost. So we need to embrace cloud capability, cloud technologies, so that we can be fit for the future and manage this complexity that is coming to us. Partner with fintechs to accelerate competitive advantage. Fintechs are very good at providing quick solutions that will enable us to provide and serve our clients. We need to do that. Operational resilience then comes in, and this probably started last year with the Bank of England, the concept of operational resilience. But operational resilience, if you take a step and understand what it basically means, it basically means have the ability to absorb, respond, and continue to provide your services without your clients experiencing or realizing that there was a disruption. And for that to happen, you need to make sure that you've identified the critical business processes, critical dependencies, both internal and external. Okay, thank you. Critical systems. And when I talk about critical infrastructure, this is around the telecos. We need to partner with our telecos, our MTNs, our Vodacoms, because when load shedding happens, they get impacted as well. Human dependency. And the last one is around adaptive continuity. COVID has shown that we can adapt and continue to provide the services. Yes, it's good to have the plans. It's good to prepare, but you can have that capability. Organizational resilience says, so it's a combination of business continuity, operational resilience, and the last piece is organizational resilience, because organizational resilience talks to how does the organization become fit for purpose in the future by being able to adapt and absorb to change rapidly. And as Simon Sinek, who's one of my favorite motivator speakers, says, always plan for the fact that no plan ever goes according to the plan. With that, thank you so much. I was told I have a minute left. I do not know if I do have a minute to take questions or my time is gone. Okay, thank you so much. I'll take the questions.
Thibeli, good afternoon. Christopher Palm. Nice speaking to you again.
Hi, Chris.
Long time no see. Thibeli, I've got two questions. I'll start with one talking about the comment that you made last about organizational resilience. One of the key elements of that would be connectedness. I wanted to ask you about how did you guys go about, indeed, if any, between the banks? Did you at all collaborate between the banks in any way, shape, or form to see how best you can, move through this time?
Yes, thanks for asking that question, Chris. So it was, the conversations were led by BASA, Banking Association of South Africa, and together with the regulator. And it was a collaborated effort to make sure that we keep our doors open. We continue to serve our stakeholders. We continue to serve our clients. Because like I said, I think on my second slide or third slide, it's about making sure that we prevent a systemic crisis to the country. We interact with other banks internationally. We trade with other banks internationally. We need to have that capability. So it was a collaborated effort, Chris.
Excellent. Yes, I think that is something, a learning point that we've taken away here, is that this is not something you're going to do by yourself, and that very important part of the risk assessment of identifying your stakeholders and collaborating with your stakeholders, I think is a lesson that we all can take away from this.
Indeed.
So thank you for that. Just one more question I've got here from, let me just make sure, from Fari. Fari is asking whether the banks did well because even before the pandemic, they've been focusing on e-banking or digital banking. And the two events coincided quite fortuitously. And he wants to know if you would agree that that helped for the banks to better prepare for this business continuity response.
So I'll answer that question in two ways. So the first way is there are clients of all banks that do not have internet capabilities or phones or smartphones. So we need to always find a balance that for those clients of yours that do not have such capabilities, you continue to provide them with a service. So that's the other thing, that's what I was mentioning around keeping the branch open, making sure that we work with the SASSA department, with the government on SASSA payouts. The second part to that is yes, because we have been prepared, because we have been innovative, and we have been working with IT companies to make sure that we are electronically enabled to provide services and to minimize the disruption of those services, because we understand that IT is heavily dependent, but make sure that we minimize those disruptions. So to answer your question, yes, we have, and we are seeing fruit with it. We're seeing benefits of that. Also, considering that we also need to cater for those customers of ours who do not have laptops, smartphones.
Yes. Thibeli, thank you very much for that. There are two more questions which we now don't have time for. One from Beverly and one from Jay Ramarak on the chat box. If I could ask you, if you could maybe respond to those in writing, that'll be marvelous. I'm handing over to Gillian to introduce our next speaker. Thanks, Gillian.